Yo, what's up? It's your boy Currency 365. Hope you guys are doing well. Legends never die, they stay in our hearts. If you want to support us, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also you can come down here and hit the join button under the video or in our channel section. And you can also join our Patreon, patreon.com/currency365. And we also have Cash App and also PayPal for supports if you want to sow some seeds. Peace out. God bless. Enjoy the video and keep the movement going. Legends. Bye.
Hey, welcome everyone. This is the Litecoin Foundation's Friday official Twitter space. We're just getting everything kicked off. Just to give you a lay of the land today, we're going to be talking about a big announcement that we're making. We have our special guest here, Basic Swap Dex, and I'll get to everyone and they can introduce themselves. We're going to be going over some of the things that are happening with both of our ecosystems and, of course, giving you the latest updates from the Litecoin Foundation and everything about Litecoin. So let's kick this off. Basic Swap Dex, let us know who's speaking from your standpoint, and we'll, if there's anybody we need to invite, you're a co-host, and just invite them up to the stage.
And that's great. Thank you so much. I'm going to be the sort of main speaker. My name's Dr. Kapil Amarasinghe. You can call me Dr. Cap. I'm an advisor to Basic Swap Dex and its parent project, the Particle Project, who essentially led the development for Basic Swap Dex. That's kind of the key thing that you need to know. I'm very much a public face. I'm very much involved in decisions relating to sort of how we reach out to people and how we sort of get the word out, as it were. And I've come on today very much to talk about Basic Swap Dex in relation to Litecoin and Mimblewimble. So yeah, that's me.
Well, that's everybody's favorite topic, especially in our community. Do you want to explain what Basic Swap Dex is? And I know Particle are here as well. If there's anything you want to mention about them.
Yeah, so a little bit of history. Basic Swap Dex, as I mentioned, was developed by the Particle Project. The Particle Project is a cryptocurrency project that goes back to an inception of 2017. It was essentially it is still a decentralized, it's a privacy ecosystem. So we're focused on building privacy applications to essentially help make people fiat free and to help encourage and spread the adoption of cryptocurrency for very practical and pragmatic uses. The first sort of decentralized application the Particle Project built and our initial area of focus, which I'll touch on briefly, was the Particle Marketplace, which is a decentralized marketplace that's highly privacy focused, essentially KYC free, uses a two-party escrow, multiple layers of privacy. In developing that, one of the things, I'll sort of, speak about in developing that, I'll sort of speak about the challenges we encountered along the way. That application uses the native token of the Particle Project, which is the part token. But we realized and we encountered issues with adoption of this platform in relation to the token essentially being restricted to usage on centralized platforms, the inherent issues with building liquidity when that native token is there, and actually just having a singular token. As part of our drive towards developing multi-currency support for our e-commerce platform, one of the things we sort of made a decision, and to improve the decentralization of our overall architecture and ecosystem, we made a very conscious decision to develop Basic Swap Dex. Now, Basic Swap Dex is an atomic swap dex. The development began in 2019, actually, properly. And as I said, it's a DEX, an atomic swap DEX. It is different from many other atomic swap DEXs in that it utilizes a fully decentralized distributed order book. It achieves that because the DEX essentially operates, it's a peer-to-peer DEX. So every time a user launches it, they're essentially creating an instance or a node on their computer, and that joins a peer-to-peer network of other nodes that share messages across an encrypted intermediary data layer, which a DSN, a distributed storage network, and an intermediary data layer, which is called the SMSG network. And that essentially allows us to have highly private swaps. And there's a lot of functionality built into this data layer. I insist, I'll just clarify this now because people always ask it. There's no token required to use our DEX. It is just a DEX that you install, and you can basically get on with using it, using the coins that you wish to sort of use it with. What makes our DEX really stand out is not just that, but also that we were essentially the first DEX and possibly one of the first decentralized applications to implement something called scriptless scripts. And that's a little piece of architecture that means that coins which don't have or don't possess programmable outputs can still be amenable to atomic swaps. What this allowed us to do was it allowed us to support Monero atomic swaps. And in fact, we were the very first DEX to support not just unidirectional Monero atomic swaps, but bidirectional Monero atomic swaps. And so this is the key thing about our DEX is we are very much focused on supporting privacy coins, on supporting privacy architecture. We're very much believers in improving the fungibility of coins by providing that support to privacy architecture. And we are very much against censorship. And we believe that supporting privacy architecture helps build a truly robust and resilient censorship-free ecosystem to enable censorship-free trading of goods and services. So that's really, what Basic Swap DEX is about. And for that reason, we incorporated a number of coins that had a privacy focus to them. So it wasn't just Monero. We incorporated Fero, which uses the Lelantus Spark protocol. We incorporated PIVX, which uses zero-knowledge proofs, ZK snarks. We incorporated our native coin, which is the particle coin, which utilizes ring CT. But we also incorporated Litecoin, which uses Mimblewimble. Now, the initial implementation of Litecoin on our DEX just supported the public balances. But what we've managed to do, certainly with our most latest update, is support balances for Mimblewimble. So when you install our DEX onto your device, launch it, and essentially sync your desired chains that you want to trade and swap with, what you can now do with our DEX. Before, it would just be that you could only trade and swap using public Litecoin. At this point, now you can essentially send Litecoin. You can basically send Litecoin into your wallet and then convert it from the Mimblewimble balance into the public Litecoin balance from which it can now be traded in the DEX. So this is the first step towards providing full MWeb integration of Litecoin support into our DEX. And in turn, we hope that we can help foster increased adoption of Mimblewimble usage within Litecoin and help grow the privacy community as a whole and increase adoption of privacy. So that's a short summary.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely amazing, and it falls right into Litecoin's history. I mean, the first ever atomic cross blockchain swap was a Litecoin transaction. I think it was made with Decred or something like that. But one of the first atomic swaps was made with Litecoin. So this falls right in line with history. And then of course, Mimblewimble, which I think we'll cover a little bit more as this goes on, is the largest upgrade to Litecoin and enhances privacy and essentially gives that option for Litecoin to become positioned really for the future. I'd also like to have Alan Austin, who's the managing director of the Litecoin Foundation, just introduce himself. And Dr. Cap is going to be um, a speaker in our upcoming event. So I'd like to ask Alan to introduce himself and just mention a little bit about the upcoming event.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining. My name's Alan Austin. I'm the managing director at Litecoin Foundation. For those that don't know what Litecoin Foundation is, we are a nonprofit organization. And our basic mission is to advance the Litecoin ecosystem, and we do this. Our goal is to see worldwide Litecoin adoption. And some of the ways we do this is through education, research and development, providing different information and resources to the community support, and pretty much any way we can to help support growth and adoption in terms of Litecoin and its development. And some of the just current initiatives we're working on, include some of our own wallet development. Again, education and support. We do online events. We do in-person events, which I'll mention. One of the things and partnerships is another thing. And then another thing that's very important is MWeb, and we're going to talk more about that. But I'll just touch on two things real quick. So we are doing an in-person event, and we will have our fourth annual. I believe it's the fourth annual. I'm just double checking now. 1, 2, yes. Annual Litecoin Summit. We will be holding that in July in Nashville, Tennessee. It'll be the same week as the Bitcoin conference, sort of overlapping. So that'll be happening on July 24th and 25th. All of our events have always been quality speakers. And one of the things we'll definitely be highlighting is the importance of privacy and amongst other things. So we priced it to be very reasonable and affordable for everyone. Litecoin.net is our website, and you can get information about the summit there. Everybody's obviously welcome to join, and I think it'd be a great opportunity not only to hear some fantastic speakers, but to learn, to educate, to network with some great people. Again, it'll be a pretty big crowd there because the Bitcoin conference will also be happening there. So that's one way to come learn more. I just wanted to circle back real quick though, and I won't talk about any of the more technical side of things, but one of the things we'd recently added to Litecoin was this optional privacy layer called MWeb. And I just want to mention, so basically, for those that don't know what MWeb is, it's basically an opt-in privacy layer on top of Litecoin. And what it does is it provides the user a basic level of confidentiality concerning their finances. And what it does this by concealing basically three things: the sender, the sending address, the receiving address, and then the amount of crypto you're sending. Why is this important? We feel like this was really the missing thing to when it comes to sound money. Up until now, like cryptocurrency in general, including Bitcoin, has really been lacking some very basic privacy features, things that you see even today in traditional banking. So, for example, if you go to pay with a credit card, even that merchant doesn't know what's in your bank account, or if you use cash, nobody knows what's in your bank account. If you're doing payroll, you don't know what else someone is making, nor should you. And right now, with the public blockchain ledger, without this privacy layer, it's a little bit easier to start tracing and tracking. Why is this important? Putting aside the fact that it should be a fundamental human right, it really helps protect. It really helps ensure that personal information related to transactions is not available to unauthorized parties. Helps prevent things like price discrimination, extortion, and other practices that can target vulnerable people and things like that. So it's not anything that's already not in place in traditional finance, but it's been missing in the crypto world. So with this optional privacy layer, people now have the ability to be a little bit more private about their finances when they choose to, and because it's opt-in, the option to not be so private when you don't want it is also there. So that's sort of the high level of why we've added this functionality.
And we should really give a big shout out and thank you to David Burkett, who is really the lead developer on MWeb and has, brought this from its infancy into the upgraded version of Litecoin Core. So which was a major process we went through where miners signal and accept that that Litecoin is going to be upgraded with MWeb. So this is a community affair, and you know, tip of the hat to David Burkett, who has really been the, you know, the mastermind behind not only, you know, making this happen, but making it happen in a way that really works. There's a lot of, you know, expectation when you have a 12 and a half year old blockchain that has never been down, that's never, you know, really had any kind of issue to make something that's a massive upgrade and make it work. So shout out to David Burkett, and of course to Charlie Lee, who really envisioned this next step in Litecoin's evolution. So
Yeah, let me just add
Alan,
one real quick thing too, and you know, we talk about MWeb and adding this privacy layer, which again, it helps protect and safeguard like individuals, businesses, and their finances, but it also adds fungibility, and fungibility is incredibly important when it comes to money. Meaning, $1 should always be equal to $1. You shouldn't not be able to use a certain coin because it's been traced back to some questionable activity that maybe you weren't even involved with, right? So there's several benefits there, and again, I won't go into too much of the detail, but there's again, it's been the one component of sound money that up until recently we believe has been missing, and this is why it's so important.
So Dr. Cap, do you want to you know, fill us in a little bit about this announcement and kind of, you know, lay the groundwork for why you felt this was the next stage for basic swap DEX?
Yeah, so firstly, I just want to follow from Alan and just say I really respect Litecoin as a community for, you know, the decision they collectively made to support an implementation of Mimblewimble. And I actually really like the way they went about doing it. To my understanding is essentially the way they essentially made two chains almost running in parallel that you can sort of switch in and out of, providing that optional privacy. I think it has great enterprise applications for, you know, it really expands the enterprise applicability for Litecoin moving forward. And to sort of touch on what Alan said, you know, when you can provide robust privacy for your end users, you are actually providing them with a degree of fraud resistance. You are, you know, protecting your end users from exploitation from bad actors who might wish to analyze your financial inflows and outflows and take advantage of that information in some way. I think I have a huge amount of respect to the Litecoin community for doing that. My personal view, you know, I think, as Alan said, privacy is a fundamental right. I'm a great believer in free flow of information, and I think the purest form of information free flow can occur in privacy guarded environments. So when you've got privacy safeguarded, when you're having a truly private conversation between two individuals that trust each other, then you can truly say in what you feel and mean. That allows for a lot more creativity, diversity of ideas, diversity of exchange. And that diversity of ideas actually, you know, on a very fundamental level, I think that allows for, you know, diversity of adaptation, diversity of technology and diversity of art. You know, lots of ideas can flourish, novelty can flourish in environments where we safeguard privacy, and that provides, you know, speaking as a doctor, as a medical doctor in my background, I believe that provides adaptational advantages to us as a species. You know, rather than having a purely public environment where everything can be surveilled. And if you can surveil everything, you know, that means potentially actors can suppress things, as Alan pointed out. You know, it's possible to blacklist transactions or certain transaction addresses. And in that way, you're impeding the free flow of information. And on a very fundamental level, if you have no privacy, the great risk always running forward is that you develop echo chambers, because people will either censor themselves because they don't feel comfortable expressing themselves, and society censor themselves, and then you lose that output of diversity of ideas that then allows culture to flourish, that allows technology to flourish. So I really respect the Litecoin community for making that conscious decision to adopt privacy as part of its core architecture. As a representative of basic swap DEX and Particle, I will say, we respect projects that respect privacy. It's very straightforward. We will adopt projects that respect privacy, and we will push and promote and help expand the adoption of projects that adopt and respect privacy. So that is very much the leading ethos behind why we included Litecoin support. From a development point of view, the decisions we made, when we launched with Litecoin support. We kept it quiet because as a project, we were developing with pretty minimal resources. So we devoted that all essentially to a hard focus on development so that we could produce a product that is real and that works, as opposed to announcing vaporware. We did that. We had to focus some of our initial development efforts on just making sure that our implementation of Monero atomic swaps was secure, that it worked, that it was bug-free. We've done that. And that's now given us the time to kind of focus back onto Litecoin and to really do the phased implementation of privacy into it. Now, I say, that the big announcement there is that we are, going to be implementing full Mimblewimble support. That is sort of, pending the next sort of major release of the, I think it's the next sort of Litecoin core code release. So I understand there is going to be a big upgrade to Litecoin's core architecture. And once that's done, certain dependencies will then fall into place, which will allow us to implement full Mimblewimble support. And then this is important because I think something needs to be stressed about atomic swaps is they are the most safe and secure means of transacting value across blockchains. One thing I will also say, just is that, sorry, I'm losing my point here. I was basically going to say, with our DEX, it's not that you post the offer and those can be partially filled or completely filled. And as I said, atomic swaps, because they are safe and secure and they are direct, they don't require third parties. They don't require any sort of trusted middleman, as it were. And the nice thing is also with atomic swaps, and particularly with our DEX and the way we've gone about it, is you don't need to have third-party fees. So, we're really, we feel that this is essentially, when you do the swaps on our DEX, you are just paying the transaction fees on the networks for the corresponding pairs. So one of the things that we're really conscious of is that we knew that Mimblewimble adoption had been a bit slow on the uptake earlier. And one of the things we're hoping to achieve with the way we're going about this is that once we enable that full Mimblewimble support, you'll be able to go use our DEX to essentially swap in and out of Bitcoin to Litecoin to Ethereum to Monero to any of our supported pairings. And you'll be able to do that at an advantage that's fundamentally competitive to centralized exchanges because we don't adopt the third-party fee. One of the nice things about our DEX, and one of the things I think will help encourage adoption of Mimblewimble Litecoin, is that actually we have some automated trading scripts where they will literally, you basically you install the DEX, you install basic swap DEX, you load the script, you put the inputs, so you basically specify which coin pairings you wish to trade, you specify how frequently you wish to publish orders, and this script will just automatically republish orders on our DEX, and it will automatically adjust the price points of those orders by sort of using an Oracle reference point, which at default settings CoinGecko, but you can actually specify. You can even specify the frequency of publishing these orders. So we're very much producing a DEX that allows individual users to be their own market makers. So, publish the orders, set the prices. You can even set a premium above the given price or below the given price as a taker or maker. And in this way, we're allowing the users of the Litecoin community, and indeed all cryptocurrencies that are supported by DEX, to move away from dependence and reliance